Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I thought it would be interesting to kind of do a year-end wrap-up, as I have a lot of videos kind of up in the air, but nothing that I think I'm going to be able to finish in much of a timely manner for this week. Thought now would be a good time to kind of stop, look back, and thank you guys for all having joined this channel this year. Now, we started the end of the year right around this time with 100 subscribers, and now, as of this recording, we're at 521. That's, at least in my mind, pretty impressive. I'm sure people have had much larger meteoric rises, but I'm just happy that people started finding and enjoying the content that I'm doing on this channel. Now, in large part, the channel's success is due to you guys both pushing me and throwing out suggestions and having ideas and just having a discourse with me and sharing this with your friends. So, most of the success to this channel, that's up to you guys, and I appreciate all of it. Thank you so much for being part of this channel, for spending time out of your day with me on a semi-regular basis, not only checking out my content, but hanging out in streams and just chatting it up with me on random different other streams. Now, before we get too deep into everything else that's kind of been done this year, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the games that we've managed to deal with this year. And as I went through it, it was honestly kind of an impressive list. Let's start with one of the more recent, Mega Man X. Now, this isn't the first time I've beaten this game. I do recall beating this as a kid, and I have beaten the Maverick Hunters version that came out on the PSP. This is the first time I've beaten it on the channel, though. And honestly, it kind of felt like a brand new game going through and playing it. And I was super happy to have you guys on stream, kind of encouraging me, pushing me to keep driving on it to complete the game and helping me find some of the pieces that I had never had before. I don't think I ever actually got the Hadouken ever before. I had no idea how to get that until you guys showed me. So thank you so much for that. That was wonderful, being able to finally do that. Another one that we managed to complete this year, Ghostbusters. Now, you guys have seen me play that one on stream off and on for probably well over a year. I never knuckled down and beat it until I was doing a Ghostbusters month this past October and decided this was the time, this is when I want to beat it. And you guys were gracious and supportive as we're going through it on stream and we're pushing through that game, and then even so much as to watch the Let's Plays as I went through the remainder of that game and beat that one and got that up on the channel. That is a wonderful game. That is probably one of the best Ghostbusters games I've played outside of the Xbox 360 version. If you've not had a chance to play that game, I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic game. It's so much fun. It only really gets frustrating in like stages 5 and 6, mostly because there's so many more sub-bosses, and the last boss is kind of a little grindy and uses a weapon I'm not super fond of, but overall I would definitely recommend that game still. It's a pretty great game, and I think more people should be able to explore that one and play that one. I would love to see that actually come to the Switch marketplace so more people would sit down and play that. It's a very good game. Another one that we beat this year was Comic Zone. That happened early in the year. That was back in March. Matter of fact, it's the only no-death run that I actually have on record, is beating that game, which I did. Started the Get Good series, which didn't last for very long, but has kind of come back in the Can I Learn series that's been debuting on the channel that I've only gotten one series out of on it. However, I'm about to start Earthborn Jim, so expect that in the next year. But this one had me going through Comic Zone, which is a fairly tough game, but not as tough as you think once you kind of understand how the mechanics work. And that's the real trick with that game, is understanding how the game expects you to play the game, because so many things do damage to you. Learning when and how to use items, and then learning a few tricks to be able to get openings in on some of the bad guys. But for the most part, it's really not too bad once you start adjusting your mentality around the game. And it's a very good game. It's a very beautiful game, and really does an excellent job of showing off what Sega was all about in the 90s and the kind of quirky games that they could do. There's the kind of amazing things that they would put out on the system and just try. to differentiate themselves from Nintendo, and I feel like they did an excellent job there, and this is an excellent example of what Sega was really about in this day and age. Speaking of examples of things that were like really good in the era of Sega that made them unique, Toe Jam and Earl. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this game, even after having beat it once with save states and one without save states, mostly because of the RNG on top of RNG on top of RNG. However, it's a great example of a procedurally generated game that's a roguelike, that has a lot of random elements on it, and trusts you, the player, to find a way to utilize what you found, being able to beat it. As I said in my review, the fact that Sega was willing to take the chance on a game like this when most things that were popular were platformers and RPGs says a lot about where Sega's headspace was during this era of gaming, and just how much that they were willing to take risks and to throw out something new to kind of draw a larger audience into video gaming. Another one that we managed to do was Castlevania 2, which I still haven't managed to get the full thing out on there. I've gone through that game multiple times this year. This is by far not the hardest of the Castlevania series. And it's a little misunderstood. I feel like people look at it with a little bit more negative light than it really deserves. I feel it's a much better game than most people give it credit for. It's just confusing to navigate and harder to understand and less approachable than some of the others in that respect. Another one that we managed to finish was Revenge of Shinobi. And that was a huge win for me. I was so happy that you guys were there, that you were sharing that moment with me as I kind of got through the rest of that game. That is probably one of the toughest Genesis games I've played yet. And there's many more that are actually tougher than that game that I haven't gotten to yet. But that one's up there as far as a list of tough games. The fact that I was able to beat that on normal with just the 50 shurikens, not having to do any other modifiers on it, that was a great accomplishment. And I could not have gotten through that without your guys' support. Not in the slightest. Moving on, we actually have Castlevania 1 that I managed to finish on stream, and that is another top tier hard NES game that as a group we managed to go through and finish. And again, I couldn't thank you guys enough for being as supportive and as nice as you guys were, always encouraging me to go through that game, knowing that I was struggling with it. I know many of you guys have beaten that game in the past, but for me that was a huge win finally being able to get through that game, as I was never able to beat that game as a kid. Probably one of my crowning achievements of the year was beating Contra. 1cc clear on Contra on the very first Can I Learn series. And that was the goal I set for myself, and I was actually able to pull it off. And that was phenomenal. I cannot thank you guys enough for the encouragement, for watching, for engaging, for offering support and suggestions throughout that entire process. That is a phenomenal game. I don't feel like until I went through it the way it was intended to be played, not using the 30 lives, that I truly understood how good a game that game is. And it was wonderful to be able to beat it. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games beaten this year just in the retro space. That's not counting things like I think Carrion this year. I beat Halo Infinite and Metro Dread this year. Those were done off stream. Those weren't really part of the channel. Those were just other things that I managed to work in this year. And I attribute my stick-to-itness and being able to get through those games again a lot to you guys. And you guys kind of coaching me through these games and encouraging me and supporting me not to like just put these games down, but just to push through some of the difficulty that's there and see it through to the end. It's been wonderful to be able to like actually finish this many games this year. On top of that, we got several more game history stuff. A lot of those ranked up on the channel. If you guys haven't seen those, I have a full playlist of those. I'll try to link that in the bottom of this. Game mechanics started up this year. I have another one of those in the works. That's something I want to see through into the next year. There will be another Can I Learn starting up before the end of the year, I hope. I want to start recording that like this weekend. As I'm kind of going into vacation, I can start recording some of that, maybe get something out next week, so you guys can see some progress on that. That one I believe is going to be Earthworm Jim. And I'm pretty excited for the next year. I have another game history in the works, along with the game mechanics in the works. We have another Can I Learn going. There'll be more streams. I'm hoping to finish Mega Man X2 by the end of the year. Retro Roots started this year, and there will be at least one more of those before the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to doing like a year-end wrap-up, seeing how everybody's Christmas went, seeing how everybody's doing that part of the year. Hopefully I'll be able to work with some of you guys in the next year. I'd like to do a few more collaborations, maybe another challenge or two in the next year, and just kind of work with you guys more and expand what I'm doing with the community as a whole. So if you guys have any ideas of anything that you want to work with, that you want to reach out to me to, feel free to. At any time you want to. I'm more than open to doing things with you guys. I love being part of this community. I love the fact that you guys embrace me into this community, even though I'm kind of like scrub tier level of retro gaming. You guys have been super welcoming and super kind to what's relatively a newcomer in this community, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hopefully you guys have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, and a great New Year's. Hopefully I'll have some more things out before then. But for now, thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Thank you so much for being along for the ride as we completed some of these games and come out with some of these new series. And I'm super excited to see what we can do moving forward together. But, till next time guys, happy gaming.